Hey, 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 we're back.
Yeah.
All right, today we've got season one, episode two coming your way for a quick little recap. And
Quick.
emphasis on quick.
We'll
Yes.
see how we recap it, but there's not a ton to talk
Yeah,
about
right.
of excitement. But we'll probably
Right.
still be here for 2 hours.
Before we pop into that, reminder to everybody, spoilers ahead. We are talking about things that happen in this episode that tie into the future seasons
Hmm.
and what has already happened. So if you have not watched them, please, I hate to say it, but leave now, go watch them and then come back and join us.
Watch at your own risk.
Yeah.
You
Proceed
can stay
with
if you want.
caution.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just want to get that out there.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Make sure everybody's
Look
on
at
the same page here. Because, yeah, as we all know, well, as our regulars know, we're backtracking. We're looking for the things that maybe we may have missed, different things that come across in season one and season two episodes that mean so much more to us now with all that we know from seasons beyond or future seasons. And just thinking about what things might have we missed that could set us up for success and cracking the codes and figuring things out as we get season four rolling in the upcoming year, right?
Yes.
Yep, yep, yep.
2026.
Hey. Woo! All right, so season two, um,
Season two.
episode two.
Episode two. Season one, episode two.
One episode two.
Yeah, it's been a long day for us all. But hopefully we aren't saying Clayton Landry today. Like last time, it can only go up from here. But yeah, the episode starts. Alice is missing.
And we get smacked in the face really quick in probably the first third of the episode and just reminded with all of the unresolved grief I think that Kat is holding on to for sure. We constantly get these flashbacks of Jacob when Jacob was little. She I can't are there flashbacks of Colton or do we just see his spot in the field?
I
Like,
don't remember seeing any. Maybe
Yeah, I
just
don't think she has any specific Colton flashbacks, but we get to that point where, yeah, she stops right there and sees the marker, symbolizing the place where we lost Colton. And ironically enough, we know she's going to be feeling some things all the deeper about that spot come 1/1.
that that was a weird thing to see. Yeah, because we were like, we know what happens there. We're first time watching it, didn't think anything of it. I didn't know where I was. I was like, cool, Dell. I'm just on this dirt road. But mm-hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
Dell later explains it in the episode. Later on, she tells Alice what that spot is,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and Alice will learn it too.
Yeah, right. I was just like, yeah.
Gosh,
She was there.
she's going to be there. Oh,
Mhm.
I can't wait till we get to those details
Yeah.
again in those last couple episodes of the season. I
Mhm.
get to look out for things.
Yeah.
Um, our Alley girl tries to do some more time traveling.
Mhm.
We see that she just kind of spills all the beans to young Elliot, old Elliot, past Elliot, present day Elliot, just kind of talks about all the things. And Elliot spills the beans that she's going back
Right.
and kind of lets her know that
But poor Elliot, did you see the look on his face when she told him that she knows him in the future and he's her science teacher? That look on his face, I felt so bad for him because he says later on that, he's had his whole life kind of exposed, revealed to him already. He knows, he's going to go back to Port Haven. He knows he's going to become a science teacher. He knows all this because of Alice. And it's at that moment in that scene, she tells him that, and he just is just like, what did you just tell me?
on top of him
Yeah.
hearing that there's no future or situation with him and her mom
Right.
at that time that she's coming back from. And he was like, so, your dad. It's not you, Elliot. And
It's
he's like,
just my
Right.
science teacher. I thought about that too. I was like, dang, that must have really hurt him. But then in the moment, it was like she said it when she was about to jump in the pond, I think, or something. So his focus is like also on like time travel too. So it's like brain overload must have been like so much going on in there. And it was really sad to see like, you're just my science teacher. Like,
And
uh,
that wasn't the point that he learned Alice was Kat's daughter, was it? He already knew, right? When he first met her as a time traveler?
they had that conversation at the end of season 1,
Episode 1.
episode 1.
okay. I was like, not for several episodes. Oh my
They had that conversation
Season
in
1.
episode
Okay,
1.
so yeah,
And then
so
this was like the follow-up to it.
okay. So we can think then from that this whole time he's been thinking maybe he's the dad. And maybe it is him and Kat in the future. And she yanks that rug out from underneath them
I
in a
think
hurry, which was sad.
I know you in the future.
Right. So if you're Kat's kid in the future, then well, who's your dad?
Ew! Obviously not you, dude. You're just my science teacher.
if it makes you feel any better, I hope he can look at Alice and be like, those aren't my genetics. But so maybe he wasn't thinking that. But I don't know if his mind went that far, but like, oh, she's coming back like to town. That's my opportunity. And then Alice kind of crushed that too, like in present day, like, oh,
Right.
because I know he does like hold out in his head for like someday. I know that it's gonna happen.
I don't think
But-
she tells him either that her and Kat and Brady are getting a divorce either, does she? So he's
No.
thinking, hey,
No,
you
'cause he's so
know,
stunned and shocked by her like
Right.
first response that nothing goes on in the conversation.
right. Poor
Yeah.
Elliot.
right, the board thing. Seeing this, like going back to his young self and seeing the beginnings of it, it does give me a little more empathy for him because I know we came down on him pretty hard recently and all of his shenanigans and feelings with Kat and stuff. But
I
poor
mean, I
guy.
also have a whole lot of like my heart hurts a little bit when we see present day Elliot too, knowing that he's been waiting for this moment for 20 years and like knowing about this chapter of the girls coming into his life and all this stuff. And then it's just like this. And Alice like storms into his classroom in front of all of his colleagues and is like, we need to talk about last night. And then he's like
Yeah.
instantly in the center of a scandal with one of his students.
I'm bringing that up
Oh.
later.
They're
Like,
all
that's
just
not what I signed up for, girls.
right.
Oh.
I waited 20 years for this.
That makes me wonder a little bit, like, because he could totally time that up because he knew when Alice was born, and like when Kat was pregnant. So then he also would know that her age roughly. So do you think he moved back? Yeah, he had a divorce and just, happened to move back and bought the house from his dad or whatever. But like, were there intentions there? Is that something obvious to you, or am I the only one just
Like,
kind
did
of
he have like a year
Yeah.
benchmark in the back of his head?
feels like, yeah, like this is my time, I should go back. Like something driving that rather than just like, oh yeah, I'm just back.
I mean, that's something to really think about when we think about the episodes that we just saw in season 3 with Emma and all that stuff. And when he like recounts like running into them at the restaurant and all that stuff, and just finally getting to the point where he was like, I couldn't do it anymore because you knew that your benchmark was coming up, or
Right.
Mm-hmm.
good question, because we know he kept track of the details.
Yes.
Yeah, right. He's got that whole
Look.
log. Nothing gets past him. Like maybe someone else we could excuse that. Like, oh yeah, they probably forgot.
Oh, he
He-
knows.
Detail man.
And Rita, did you and I talk about where the notebooks could possibly be at this point?
Oh, like where he wrote all the time traveling notes
Yeah.
in like present day? No, but I'm sensing
like,
you have some
End
kind of
of
theory.
season 3 present day.
Oh,
like where those notebooks could be.
We saw him in season 3.
Right. All
So
right. We'll
aren't they in
talk.
his house?
Yeah, no,
What are you getting at?
this isn't
I know.
theory
I'm
time. So
What are you
there.
getting at?
I've got this theory that years down the road, future people get a hold of those notebooks, like maybe Casey or Jacob or Sam Bishop or somebody, and is using that information to time travel and figure things out and who people are.
Oh.
'Cause those notebooks are very detailed and they seem to have more of a purpose than just reminding people when they're going to go and for Nick to find out. Remember how Nick found out about Alice and everything?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like there's going to be more there. There's a lot more building with that because
Okay.
that's a lot of information to write down.
Maybe KC finds it because they live in the house because they are Elliot's child.
All right, moving on.
You're just proving my theory
I don't,
even
I
more
don't
with
want to
your
open
own.
that can up, but
All
here
right.
we are.
Speaking of documented records that tell us about the past, I love seeing the almanac for the family. And
1814.
I couldn't focus anything on what Dell and Kat were doing with it and the fact that they were writing like Jacob's date and really struggling with his like date of passing or whatever they want to call it in his case. Um, all I wanted was like a zoomed in screenshot of like, give me names. Who's in there? Whose names
Right?
haven't we come across yet?
And
When
they
did
didn't do
everybody
it.
die?
She's like, you can see everyone from the past. And it's like, can I? Can
Yeah.
I? Hand it
Can we
over.
please just hold it up for a minute? We'll pause it.
Right?
But no, they
Let
didn't do
me
it.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that, and yeah, I want to know, are the details like even in there? Like, did the writers add that detail into the
Right?
production of the show and like with the amount of like thought and everything that they've put into the series, is
The
that
the
prop as detailed?
was the torn page noticeable? I don't remember.
I didn't notice it. Everything looked very well preserved and
Yeah.
fresh. So I didn't catch any kind of missing
Huh.
anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of like little shockers and a lot of things that kind of like stood out to us in that first little chunk. I think it was really interesting to see Alice get denied, jump like traveling in the pond the second time she goes.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were talking about that recently, whatever episode. We were
Right.
like, the pond just, how does it just takes you everywhere now. Like it just, wherever you want to go, you end up going.
You're
So
driving now.
yeah,
But
right. It was nice to see like, oh, they didn't have that much control over their outcome or
this is where we first start to see Elliot's theories pop up. And he
yeah.
told her that the pond works in mysterious ways and it sends you where and when it wants you to go. So he's already coming up with ideas of how it works, probably given the past and the notebooks that he kept
Mhm.
everything in.
Mhm.
And he knows when Alice comes there and when she doesn't. You know, he himself went. Well, he doesn't know that yet, though. But so all these things that now he's starting to piece it together, like
Yeah.
with what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts talking to her about that, and he starts to become the pond guru, like like we know he is. And I don't know, maybe Sam is too, but we'll wait till we get there.
No, I will say we have talked about like Elliot being this inappropriate teacher and stuff, but I did like seeing the parallels of like he's the teacher at school, but then he is also that pond teacher and like showing up for her in
Mm.
that way and like being like teaching her kind of lessons and things to learn and all of that, at least in the pond world. So that was
Right.
cool. He is a good
Yeah.
teacher, but
Hey, real quick, um, a couple things to note that we've already gone past. Did anybody notice Kat's emotional whiplash with Alice? Just when she came home from her pond travel that first time, and Alice is so happy to see her because she now met her as a teen, And she hugs her and she tells her, she's sorry, she wants to be there, blah, blah, blah. And Kat's like, oh my God, I missed you. I just wanted you to be safe. And then she just snaps. Where did you go? Blah, blah, blah. You want to move back with your father. You wanted to leave. You were trying to go back to Minnesota. And she's like, no, I wasn't. She goes, yes, you were. That's what you were doing. And wouldn't drop it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
don't push her away that bad. But I thought it was funny that it looked like Alice was going to tell her.
I know. She was just like,
Right. And then she with her foot pushes those clothes under the bed, and we start to get the idea, and Elliot talks about it because when she's talking to him, she says, how come Mom didn't recognize me? And he said, well, memory is a fickle thing or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Mercurial.
Mercurial, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to get that explanation because he recognized her the minute he saw her on the porch in episode 1, season 1. And we saw the look on his face where he was like, oh my God, that's Alice. But nobody else sees it. Dell didn't see it. Kat doesn't see it, which
Dell is weird.
I can understand a little more because Alice grew up as a baby to her and she saw her all those years along. That one kind of makes a little more sense, but for anybody else, how do they not recognize her?
Right. I
But
like how
that's, I guess, the fun of it.
Yeah, I do appreciate they probably realized how weird that was as writing it. So they did give Kat a couple things. Like when she is in a rage, but then she thinks to grab the photo off the side table and look at it again with young Kat and Alice, where Alice is blurred. Because there's something in her head that's who is that person? And then she also does say Alice is more of a memory than an actual person too. So at least they acknowledge that it was kind of bizarre.
Didn't she say she was more of an energy?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So at least that was kind of cool. That they acknowledged it.
But 2 quick things. Did you notice was it that scene or later on? We get an appearance from Finn.
I wanted to give him a shout out because Alice is the only one in this episode who acknowledged him twice. She was in the field with him and he was laying on her bed. And I was like, MVP Alice once again. No one is as great as her.
Yeah, and when she went to the pond and failed, she told Finn, you stay here. Don't come to the pond with me.
He was like, girl, let me teach you a thing or two about time travel.
But then he took off following her, but then they never showed him again. Yeah, he's over there helping Elijah already.
Building the house. He's got his tool belt on.
And ready for harvest.
You got he's the oldest dog in the world. And I'm not even talking about years that he has physically lived, but the centuries that he has lived through.
He reminds me of Wishbone or something. Remember him when he would act out all those stories in his little clothes and stuff?
Oh, the Finn. I love him so much.
He's the best. He's the number one character.
Just popping around.
And again, this goes to show how consumed with their own lives every other character is, that they have not noticed.
Right.
That Finn's been hopping and bopping around.
Yeah.
For a century.
Right. I'm just adding more and more tallies to my list of things that bother me about Dell. And I'm really trying to stop. I'm not trying to focus on it. I'm trying to get over it and whatever. But it's just the dog thing. And then her not recognizing Alice in the way that Mr. Augustine did. That is just now a thing that's going to bother me, because I always told myself, okay, Kat didn't recognize her because she grew up with her, the things Elliot said. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But Dell doesn't look at that kid and say, oh, it's that friend Kat had.
Right.
Because my mom would remember a friend I had 20 years ago for sure.
Again, not seeing them. And she also has never seen Alice. right?
Right.
Ever.
He hasn't seen baby pictures of her and,
Yeah.
you know, elementary age or nothing. It's just boom, here she is, the same age as when she came to visit you.
Yeah. I that
Hello.
that's an interesting thing.
Hello.
Hello.
Even when she starts to sing in the upcoming episodes, it's like
I heard that
a light
before.
bulb moment. But
Also, because this is the third time that she's seen her. I'm getting it now.
yeah.
You knew this same girl in the 70s and the 90s
Yep.
and now.
Dell, I'm done with you, Dell. I'm done. I've lost it. My patience is gone. I've tried.
And I've gone
You've
into
had
this.
3 Alices in your life and they've all been the same person.
That's why I have this whole time. I mean, I'm just connecting all this too, but like this whole time, I'm like, she knows. Like, how do you not?
I've gone into this
Like,
whole
maybe amnesia.
rewatch with open eyes about Dell and watching her progress. She started off episode 1 like a great character. Like, okay, this is gonna be fun. It's Andy McDowell. Gave her some chops here. Boom. Let's see what she does. Then they just, boom, she just went into the shell and it's just mean almost.
Yeah.
Now my focus, and I'm sorry to Kyler out there, but I'm not digging Kat right now. She
Mm.
seems to be, the more I look at like an antagonist to the show and things
Ooh.
that are kind of driving some of the, you know, the more dramatic plot points, it's all Kat. And it's all her right now, her whiplash, emotional whiplash back and forth of being nice and just being
Yeah.
angry and mad all the time. And I think a lot of that came from what we talked about earlier,
Her grief.
is totally
There's
not
so
over the Jacob loss, her
Mhm.
father,
Mhm.
because she
Or
left at
her
the time that
mom.
all happened.
And her mom.
Her
Right. And
mom
she
is just
came back
killing
20 years later. She expects everybody to be exactly how they were when she
it.
left. They should all be in mourning. They should all be still looking for Jacob. It's been 20 years and those people have been
Mhm.
living there trying to move on.
Yep.
And she doesn't understand that. And she's really getting kind of mean about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we see Alice start to ask questions. And I never understood this. And I still don't after rewatching it. Why were they so adamant about telling her what happened? They're like, oh, once you learn what happened to Jacob, you'll never look at us the same. And all. It's not like they tortured the kid and threw him off the cliff. He disappeared.
Well,
Right.
Kat's not going to be the first person to say it because
Feels
she
guilt.
takes it as her fault. She saw on the paper, like, she's the last one. He was on her watch. So I think that, like what you said, Kendra, I think there's a lot of guilt attached to that and responsibility. And then Dell's just like, I'm ready for the memorial. I locked this book up in my chapter book collection and I ain't opening it again.
And I didn't blame her for that at all because
I saw her
20
differently
years
thinking about the memorial for sure.
of living there by herself, I
Yeah.
can't imagine those demons in that house
Hmm.
of just every corner
Oh,
she
she
turns.
lost 100% of her family.
Yeah, and now she's by herself, and for 20 years she's been living this way. It's time for her to close that chapter.
Time.
And
Definitely.
Kat didn't want any part of it. She was so mad at her. Even during the service, she was giving her the stink eye. No, don't do that.
I definitely like watching their conversation, like with the almanac and how Dell couldn't do it. And then Sweet Cat was like, I got this. So I was like, that was a really great moment for her to step up and like be able to just write his name in. But yeah, I definitely was. I'm usually on one side or the other. I feel like, but that time I was like, I see both sides. Like this makes sense. Like Kat wouldn't have left if Dell hadn't kind of pushed her away from the house and created that separation between the two. There's a reason why she was gone for so long. But then you also were gone for so long and things aren't going to be the same as you like when you get back. So I see both. And it is that two people kind
There
of
was that one line that summed it up when Dell said, I lost my whole world in 3 months. And
I
Kat
was gonna
says,
say that.
what about me?
Or Alice is even like,
Oh
you
yeah,
said
Alice says,
my
what
mom.
about mom? You didn't lose her.
And so that is a thing. Like I see like the frustration, like Dell is like just so frustrating in that way. Like, yeah, you did lose it, but like you also could have mended that. You still had something. It wasn't like she,
Only 2/3 of that was
I
out of
even
yeah,
had that written
control.
down and I
that's not
messed it up.
fair. Yeah. So I don't know. That's tough. But I had a little like since we talked about the memorial thing, I was a little confused about like just convenience of plot or what. But I was like, why 20 years later is this all conveniently happening?
The day the girls show up is the same weekend you got your memorial.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
like that would be so hard too. Like you're just coming back, getting all this stuff that you've kind of been like avoiding or pushed aside, and then this is what you have to face and deal with on top of just already having this weird, I mean, divorce, no job. Your mom's telling everyone you don't have a job and like doing
And
awkward
applying you for jobs that you aren't applying for.
and like, yeah, so then you're like, that's just shoved in your face. I would have that reaction too. Like, I'm not ready for this. And I thought that was weird. But also, the thing that bothered me the most, and I feel like I've brought this up at some point, maybe just like off our recordings or something, but the memorial thing, she's like, we're having this. It's been planned since long before you got here. And if Kat and Alice weren't there, it would have just been Rita, Dell, and Elliot. That's something you planned months in advance. You can invite the other 10 people in the town to show up. Like, I don't even, it was bizarre. That, like,
Monica would have been there.
right, at least somebody.
Yeah. And Spilsky.
Yeah. So, on that note, let's talk about Spilsky because I am so bothered by this. I'm getting worked up ever since we realized Dell doesn't recognize Alice across 3 generations.
Ah,
Or
for times.
time zones or yeah, decades. Um, and the job when Kat goes to just drop off some honey, and so she's like, "Here," and Monica's like, "Oh, you here
Let's
for
start your
interview?"
interview.
She's like, what? And like, come on, Dal, that's just rude. Like maybe you're trying to help, but also it's just kind of like a
But also, are you trying to push her away and make her mad?
right. It's like kind of like that backhanded compliment or whatever. It's like this isn't helpful. You're just making things even more awkward. But they catch up. And the thing that bothered me, I don't even remember the exact dialogue or quotes, but um
Oh gosh.
it was just oh, Monica. I'm still close to Elliot Augustine. Do you know him? And Trevor Hill. And she said, "What? Oh, Spilsky or something?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm married to him." And they made it like this big deal. And I was like, "Who's Trevor Hill? We've never met that person ever, but they're making it seem like a big deal."
So, have you kept in touch with anyone from school? I'm still super close with Elliot since he moved back, and I'm also very in touch with Trevor Hill.
Spilsky, that guy was such a klutz, right? And he actually made it to adulthood. What is that guy up to these days?
He's married. To me.
No kidding.
And then it also brings up that Monica and Kat were these like nemesis, arch, whatever, frenemies or something. But her son is the kid that Alice is friends with, who also just disappears and goes to cooking school or something random later on. And I'm just like, what is the point of these characters?
I'm so curious if Monica was supposed to have a bigger role in the
Yeah.
show than she did in the beginning, because I had the same exact wonderings when she was like talking about her husband with first name, last name, like we're supposed to keep track of that. And I was like, I've never heard of Trevor.
Trevor
No.
Hill.
And then when you kind of find out, and like, what is the son's name? I can't remember now off the top of my
Is it
head.
Spencer?
Spencer?
I'm
Okay,
pretty
that's the
positive.
son. Spencer?
Jacob's name?
His real name?
The Hector's.
Oh, probably.
Well, and then
Spencer
when he
McPherson.
whips out a picture of the girls when they were younger together, and I was like, you're her son. Where did you go? And why don't we ever hear about you again? I
Mhm.
totally was wondering all those same things. And I was just like, were you supposed to be more important than you are?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
It
Because I'm like,
didn't work.
yeah. And it's like, it's one thing if like Nick was the Trevor Hill or something. Ooh, that would be fun. That makes sense. Let's
Wait,
connect
what?
with him. But it's not. Like it's for real. So yeah, one thing I did want to talk about were just the new characters we were introduced to in this episode. And Trevor Hill is number one, whoever he may be.
Hill is a mystery, but the Monica thing I can see, they're just trying to throw in somebody. I mean, Kat grew up in this town. She's got to know somebody, right?
Elliot.
Besides Elliot. And I took it kind of funny after she made the Spilsky line and basically put her foot in her mouth when Monica says, "Yeah, I married him." And she's like, "Oh." And then Monica's like asking Kat for her resume to work at the Point. Like, was that just a jab? Like, I'm the boss, you're going to give me your resume, and I'm going to see if you qualify to serve coffee at my place. You know, it was
Well, it
just
was
kind
like
of
the
funny. Like,
awkward
that was a little
transition.
overkill. Because
Yeah.
remember when Alice showed up? She's like, "Oh, you decided you want a job? Okay, here's your apron. Get going."
Right.
You know, it's like, wait,
Yeah.
Touche.
If you're trying to have an interview, why are you doing it in the public space also? I
you
don't
know,
know.
the conference room in
In the
that
back
point
room.
was built on set.
Just
They go
love
to where they
it.
do the table reads.
That whole scene just bothered me in every way.
Monica.
Um, Before we get any further, I want to hit real quick. Mr. Augustine, you were talking about if, Elliot had like a benchmark when he was going to go back.
Mm-hmm.
There was a quote in this episode when one of the two times he was in the loft with Pinot Girl, with Kat drinking wine. So that is kind of a running thing with them. But he tells her,
No matter what I did out there, I always knew I'd wind up back here. Wherever I went, I had one foot in this town. Guess I never left.
I don't think he's pointing to like one particular date. He just knew he could never stray too far too long, that he
Mhm.
had to be back there. And I
Yeah.
put a little note on here, thanks to Alice on that one. So,
I'm also one. I was just trying to think, like, if
which,
Alice never says directly, like, I'm from this year or I am this old,
no,
he
you're right.
wouldn't have that benchmark year.
Right.
But he doesn't he know when Kat's having the baby after the Lingermore or whatever
Yeah.
gets hurt and he's there. He shows up and then she names the baby then. So we
Oh,
get
yeah.
But like
And
saying, like, if Alice isn't saying, like, I'm this many years old currently.
I think
No.
they just assumed they were all like 15, 16 years old when they first met, being in high school. So, yeah, maybe that was his benchmark to go back around that time. But we do also get the idea right there. We learn in later seasons that Colton thinks he broke the rules of the pond. Remember, because he told the Landrys to plant potatoes and rye for that summer, and he was very upset and thought the fire was because of him because he broke the rules and told them about their future. Alice broke the rules from day one. And we don't really talk about it much, but she really destroyed them if you're not supposed to tell somebody anything. So maybe her breaking the rules made bad things happen. I don't know. But I think we can put to rest that Colton didn't really break the rules. He's not the rule breaker.
yeah, okay.
Because Alice, if that's what he's considering breaking the rules, I mean, Alice has been doing it all along. So,
Right. Yeah, there's such a target on Colton for doing it or something. So it's like
right.
back when we kind of already knew, like, wait, you're not supposed to do that. But like with Alice, like we're figuring it out with her as it's happening and stuff. So it's like, oh, yeah, free pass, like whatever. But yeah, they're all breaking rules.
Rebels.
Can I talk about another character?
Sure.
Spilsky? Oh, no. Yeah. Go.
the character that I thought did not even have a role in this show, but he's been brought up in our season 3 recap a decent amount. And when we talk about Evelyn and stuff, but Mr. Byron, the
Dude,
worker of the Herald. I
Sorry,
saw him in the flesh.
I could not get over the new guy in town that Rita keeps saying, and he's like, Rita, I've been here for
Years.
6 years.
Yeah, what is
you guys
that?
didn't invite him to the memorial?
No,
Right. He could even do a news story about it.
and he's been there 6 years. You know, he's should be known.
Okay,
Yeah, what was that
I am
supposed to
so
imply?
glad that Byron came in so early on because similar to what you were saying, Kendra, like I didn't even
Byron?
remember anything about this man.
Uh-uh.
Little Miss Delilah has a massive crush on this man
Alice saw it too.
Yeah.
instantly.
Uh-huh.
The-
Sounds like, oh, you're
the hair
sweet now?
behind the
Okay.
ear.
Talking
He's
about
walking out with that
whiplash.
farmer's market haul for $5.
Yeah.
Woo,
Just
that is
let me a
love.
5. Just let me a 5.
I just gouged
Okay.
tourists. Whatever. But
Which-
yeah, it was funny that
But
Alice noted the hair behind the ear, and when she looked at Colton, she remembered her doing that.
yeah, that was cool.
So
But the connection, again, that kind of felt like a Monica thing. Like, is there something, is this supposed to be greater? Is there more meaning? Do we find out still later in season 4? Like, what was that?
Who else have we seen her flirt so aggressively with?
Not even Sam Bishop.
But there's something strangely Sam Bishopy about Byron to me.
because
Mm.
either Byron or Sam or both at one point were married to Evelyn. And Dell's thinking, I'm going to take another man away from Evelyn.
Yeah, those are my theories. And you know how you said that you had the Alice and Max theory that you're like, I'll die on this hill. That Sven is my theory that I will die on with
That Evelyn was married to Sam or Byron
one or the
One
other
of the two.
or both.
or both. Yes.
I just
There
can't
is
get over that
totally
Morocco
some
connection.
connection between those two.
Yeah,
I
there's
just,
something.
I can't drop that, and maybe I should.
Morocco. I'm hung up on it too. 'Cause
Morocco.
it's just I remember both of them saying it, and it's like neither of you are from there.
I'm going to email
Going by
Alexander
looks,
Clark and ask her.
Lewis and Clark? What?
Oh, the writers. I'm going to ask them, what is the deal with Morocco?
Yeah. Out of all the countries, why is this coming up twice?
I'm sure I'll get a reply, just a LOL. So
Just the eye emoji.
It's
That's
a thing.
It's a thing.
Especially
And-
like when we saw the parallels between the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 1 with the Sam and Elliot, like intentional copycat.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're weaving threads and things, and
yeah.
Coming back to things that have been started. Byron, there's something about him.
we're looking out for
Byron Bishop.
Yeah. I will say he did get a point for me when he let Alice do her research and was the only one that helped her, I guess, like find some answers when everyone else was so closed off. So I was like, thank you, Byron. Thank you.
Byron.
So he's good in my eyes for now. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm gonna really focus on him in these next episodes, however he shows up. I don't remember any scenes other than one that he was in. So hopefully there are more, but we'll see. Might not
Answers.
yeah, what's left?
All right. So, well, one thing that I want to hit on,
Ooh,
we
yeah,
kind of talked about it earlier too. Why was everybody, not just Kat or not just Dell, even Rita, why did nobody want to tell Alice what happened? Did we come to a conclusion about that? Because even Rita was like, even though it's public knowledge, it's in all the papers and everything.
yeah.
Why does nobody just want to tell her what happened? I don't understand that.
I think well, okay.
I know you talked about, Kat's guilt, and she felt
Yeah.
like it was her that caused it,
Yeah. I
or
feel
could have prevented it, and she didn't. But
Dell,
I don't understand. Here's somebody that's part of your family and wants to learn more and be involved in it,
mhm.
and you're being so cryptic and keeping everything from her. Now you drove her to the Herald and Byron and looking up the archives for yourself. I did think it was interesting. They showed the picture of the bike again.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. We know that Kat is the one that rides the bike to the fair later. So that was
Ah,
nice little. I like
Oh,
that.
yeah. I was like, bike, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how she ended up getting there. Remember? Because
No, I don't.
no, that wasn't the time. The
Uh,
time she tried taking Vic's bike. No way, lady.
oh
When she
yeah,
said that tracks.
that tracks. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say that
but
checks out.
but I thought it was interesting that it just they're
Yeah.
I don't
So
know what the word is, but just not willing to tell her anything, making her go out on her own. And then when she does go on her own, Dell finds her at the Herald and she's all mad
right.
at
death stare of all death stares.
Alice, it's time to go.
share with this girl and she won't have to go do this on
I
her
know,
own.
and it's a theme that just
I
carries
mean, I feel like
through
it's
all-
total shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't say it because then that like they have to admit to the fact that we lost Jacob and never found him again.
Yeah.
Like
But
we
I
failed.
mean, by having the ceremony and pronouncing him dead, you're admitting that, you know.
Right.
Isn't that enough for one weekend?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I really think somebody coming back or coming into your life as a family member like that, who's going to already the importance of her being there, that you would share some of that.
Well, Dell
Yeah.
takes you to the spot in the truck at the end of the episode, right?
He does.
And it's like,
And
I'll
that's
tell
what,
you some stuff, but once I open up that book, you must
It's
promise to
done.
never open it again.
yeah, like
Uh,
that was a
that
little over dramatic.
seeing that at least her say that made me see her a little bit differently because at least it makes sense in the future why she's still like,
Mhm.
stop talking about this. We're done.
Yes.
Because, oh, she did say that early on at least. Because I'm like, oh my God, lady, just give them some details and like dive on, literally and figuratively. Like, but she did say that. So that at least helped. But I do think with like Dell and things being so closed off with it and not telling her anything, I think she's really benefited in not having anyone around where she could just like I have my quote of the episode is related to this, but like her healing and stuff. They're calling it healing, but I think it's just not acknowledging it. Where like if you bring it up, it still really bothers her and she's like, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world." But if it's like if you were healed, you could talk about it or accept it or have some kind of acceptance or like this is what happened. I still feel bad about it, but like and there's just none of that. And so I think not having any of her family, like it's almost just like it happened, but like it didn't happen. Even her like pushing away all the items in the house, like it didn't happen. But you keeping like asking these questions and stuff is reminding me that it did happen. And now I'm like reliving
Yeah.
it over again. And it's just that whole like psychological whatever thing. But yeah, I know I'm like annoyed for Alice, but it's like at least she's able to get her own answers a little bit. Thanks to Byron.
Byron.
But-
Bishop.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of family things. I did want to before we stay too long, one other character came in a lot earlier than I ever expected. Danny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could see he talk about shame and guilt. You could
Right.
see it and it all made sense because they didn't explain at all in the episode who he was. So of course that's why I never absorbed anything.
Held on to him.
But looking back, I'm like, oh, I know why you feel this way. And like he didn't talk to Kat or like anything. It's just, yeah, okay. And carry on. And yeah, that was
I mean, he really came across as somebody who's dealing with, you could tell, very deep depression and just very
Heaviness.
into himself, like drawn into himself. And just the fact that somebody talked to him, let alone Jacob's sister, you can almost see him shudder, like, don't talk to me.
right.
So you could tell he's hanging on to something. And
Yeah.
we don't learn it yet, but we will.
Yeah.
I think
And
in the next episode.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because Kat tells Dell that she ran into Danny. And Dell really likes Danny.
Yeah.
And she'll say that when Kat brings him up. And
That's nice. Yeah, because even like when Kat, I noticed when Kat was acknowledging him, like there was no negativity or anything. Like it was just like she wanted to talk or whatever, like say hi,
Right.
whatever. So I thought that was nice at least. But then I was like, even so, it's sad that like he still clearly is like, I'm to blame, and there's no like animosity with the family.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Yeah, so I'm interested to look at him more in the season because I don't have any memories of really that except in the recent episodes that we've watched with like talking at the bar and stuff. Yeah.
what was the quote?
Bar.
Memories are mercurial.
Mercurial. Yep. That
All
they
right.
are.
Well, Kenny, you already gave us one of your favorite quotes of the episode. Sven, do you have a favorite quote?
Um, I do. I actually have like 3 of them. So I'm trying to pick one
Okay.
that maybe doesn't have as much meaning. One I'm going to save for the funniest moment. Um, so I guess the one that cracks me up, it could be the funniest moment, but it kind of holds a lot of what we've talked about throughout all of these seasons. When at the very end, when Alice goes back in the pond and she runs into Kat, and Kat looks at her and she goes, "Did you seriously fall in that pond again?"
Hi, Alice. Did you seriously fall in that pond again? Yeah, but I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
She's soaking wet again. And nobody talks about this. Kat talks about it here as Teen Cat early on, but then they just start to accept it. She's always soaking
Like
wet.
whatever.
Fine.
Let's play. Let's play in the hayfield or whatever.
Right, it's 3 degrees out, but she's in the pond. Whatever. It's normal. So I thought that was kind of a good quote to kind of put that into perspective how that changes throughout the seasons and they just start accepting it and then I think also the time travelers learn how to cover it up a little more.
Mm.
I mean, she gets Elliot to bring her clothes. Yeah, her hair's still wet. The type of clothing they wear, like the darker clothing where it doesn't show up as much. So I think we're starting to see the beginning of that. And
There's a
then
hair dryer in the clubhouse.
yeah, and I also think that that's there too. The way we kind of segue away from that was for the writers not to have to keep addressing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a silly little line the way the episode ended, but I think it kind of holds a lot for the future of
Totally.
not jumping in there. So that was mine.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that they did choose to acknowledge that. Like Kat, like they gave her a line. Did you fall into that pond again?
Right.
And I was like, this acknowledging it almost makes it weirder than just like letting it be.
Acknowledging it and not continuing to be curious about it.
You have one,
Mine
Mr.
was, I
August.
just loved when Alice was like said to grown up Elliot, like, what, aren't you like supposed to be my guru or something? I was just like fully embrace this whole thing. Like, yeah, you are my Jedi, like you're guiding me through this. So like, come on, let's go, guide me.
Yeah.
Okay, but aren't you supposed to be my guru or whatever?
You see how like amped she is to like continue this time traveling experience. I liked that one a lot.
Mhm.
Wants help into Runa's life. Or Elliot. That was a good exchange though.
What, like, aren't you my guru or something?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Kendra, what you got?
Well, so I already mentioned one of mine prematurely. I didn't mean to, but it made sense for the moment. And I just got a little bit of a chuckle when Rita and good old Rita and Dell were talking earlier in the episode, and Rita was just like acting like Kat and Alex had barged in on her life, and like, I don't know, I was looking at it as a weird perspective. And then she was just like, all the healing you've done. And I just kind of laughed to myself and want to be sensitive to everything Dell's gone through. But I was just like, healing, we'll see how much healing you've done in these next episodes and stuff, because I just don't
Yeah.
feel like she really has. I think she's just like disassociated from it and stuff. But I did have another one that I thought was pretty good. Another like not like funny one, but like kind of sad. That we kind of talked about earlier too when what's their name? Alice. My brain is slow today too. Trying not to say Clayton. Alice, he comes back from time traveling, and then I kind of forgot where we left off, where like she just met young mom, like her mom as a kid, and they're best friends now, and then she just gets zapped into real time, is one processing time travel, but then also is processing like my mom, what? You're so different and all of that. So she just said something like, what happened to you?
What happened to you?
Oh,
And that made me so sad because I was like, wow, she really is so different. And it's like, we know what's happened to her. And then
Don't
I
get me
think,
started.
yeah, Alice is craving that context to understand her better. And then no one's helping her get it. And it is like, what did happen to you? So that one was just, it was sad for both of them being involved in that conversation. I was like,
it's just like, oh, how little you know.
uh-huh, right? You'll understand soon. Yeah.
All right. Funniest moment. Don't all jump at once.
I don't know. I think my funniest moment was Byron when Dell was flirting, and I was like, Dell, you got a lot of nerve. You're so mean to everyone, and then you're gonna get out with this man that we don't even know. Like,
So, what do I owe you?
Just give me a 5.
Oh, Dell. You sure?
Byron, you know I only gouge the tourists.
like I was dying.
Kelly?
I liked when Alice stormed into the classroom and said in front of all of Elliot's coworkers,
We need to talk about last night.
you talk about last night. And he just turns around like,
We need to talk about last night.
not.
And then he says, we will have this conversation with the door wide open.
I got a good laugh out of that one.
So I have a couple, of course. I can't just have one. But that one was my number one. The Alice and Elliot exchange in the classroom. That was too funny. I already mentioned my other one. It actually ended up being the quote. When Kat said, seriously, did you fall in that pond again? I thought that was hilarious because of everything we just talked about. But one little, this is so, I'm really reaching for this one, but I thought it was hilarious. When Dell let the balloon go at the ceremony
Oh my God.
for Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed it going up, I thought it was going to get stuck in the tree.
I was
thought the
really
rain was gonna
impressed.
patter it down. It was raining.
Yeah.
It was weaving through 3 big branches, and I was like, is this fake? Because there's no way it could have dodged and dodged and dodged.
Right. And so for a split second, I didn't remember the first time I watched the episode if it got stuck or not. So in my brain, I'm going deep into these writers' minds and looking for every little clue. I was expecting it to get stuck
That
as
needs-
a symbol that Jacob's still alive and it's not going up and away.
that would have been
I'm like,
great.
that thing's getting stuck. I just know it because it's going to show that, it's not really the end and he's not really gone. He's right here.
Little foreshadowing.
Right. And I remember watching it heading for those branches and I started laughing out loud. Like, what? But it didn't. But so that was kind of a reach for a funny moment. But yeah, definitely number one, Alice and Elliot. And we do get a couple more of those in future episodes. And they are some of the funnier moments on the show. For sure.
How that man still has a job.
How that man still has a job.
Partying all night before the first day every year.
Right. But yep.
Mr. Augustine.
Yeah.
All right. So this is coming up. What is today? Friday.
Friday.
Remember, we are going on an every other week schedule.
Yep.
In those episodes out to you every other Friday, recapping those previous seasons and looking for the things that we missed, dots we may not have connected accurately or correctly at all. And yeah, just getting some good laughs on the things that we're catching this time and paid little to no attention to last time.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even watch season 1, apparently. I don't know. I wasn't there for it.
Once we
This
get
is my
started with
first time.
season 2, it's going to be a whole new world of learning for me. I don't remember anything from season 2.
We get to, yeah.
Country, man.
Well, later on this season, we get to start going back a century, don't we?
Well, apparently we did in the first
5 minutes of the
episode.
show.
Well, yeah, that's true. The White Witch. I forgot about that. So,
And the almanac from 1814. Like, there have been clues all along. I have not watched this show until I don't even know, halfway
Right.
through season 2.
Right?
But
So-
oh, honestly, though, tell me,
he
did
never stops.
and even anybody watching, did anybody think when they showed the almanac of 1814 and the White Witch running with people with muskets shooting at her that we'd be going back to 1814?
Never crossed my mind for a split second.
Nope. When I started I don't even know. When I started season 2 at some point, I was like, 1814, so random. And I've said this many times. I'm like,
So many times.
why was it 1814?
Why?
Where is it coming from? And I'm like, didn't they label it in the first episode? They even
Yes.
here in the New Brunswick or something.
Yes.
And then we see 1814 written again on the almanac. So good question, Spilsky. Like, it should, someone out there should have connected it. Certainly wasn't me, but it's just ridiculous.
I'll
So leave
get
in the
Monica.
comments all the things that you've noticed and the things that you're chuckling to yourself that we missed, but you caught on to because you're much smarter than we are. So let us know in the comments, like, what clues did you miss and can't believe that you like overlooked? What clues that we didn't connect any kind of dots on? Hashtag 1814. Are you cackling at the fact that we didn't connect those dots? Keep the comments alive. Keep the likes going. Share with anyone who might go on this journey with us and recap these seasons. And until next Friday, in 2 Fridays, sorry, till the next time we see you guys, cheers to all the clues that we missed, and may the pond take you wherever you need to go. Why do I miss that up every time?
These days, I don't know who said you could like say the line every week because you mess it up, but may the pond take you wherever you need to go.
May the pond take you wherever you need to go.
Perfect.
There you go.
Come get it next time.
Bye.